If you've ever been to one of my trainings before, you've heard me rant about the daily scrum and about the importance of making sure the right people are there. But the most important thing to me is making sure you're prepared to answer what questions have been presented and not that someone is interviewing you and asking you the questions. What this does is it cuts everything down to 30 seconds per person, not to exceed 15 minutes. I did have one of my clients from the BBC who reached out to me and said, sometimes 30 seconds per person doesn't feel like enough if we're going through a major update or something major going on. Can this be modified? And my answer was yes, as long as you're not exceeding the 15-minute time box. So one of the things that we came up with together was we worked on something called the 2-minute meeting hack. And we talked about how to transform, boring meetings or updates that were succinct into things that had a little bit more texture with some actionable insights. So I wanted to review that with you and talk about it and see if this applies to you. Meetings at the BBC were always very formal. Sometimes it included paperwork. Sometimes it included other things. It's a public company. Things needed to be done right, so everybody wanted to make sure they were on the same page. But you know how it goes when you're just bored in meetings. And to make it worse, not only are you bored, but you're the boss. You're responsible. And that's just not good when that happens. We've all been there. Sitting through endless status updates, watching a clock take away precious minutes out of our workday. So there must be a better way to turn these yawn-inducing sessions into some kind of productivity powerhouse. After all, if you worked ever in entertainment, TV, radio, social media, it's supposed to be fun. These meetings are supposed to be energized. So we needed to kick this in, and they knew just the coach to help. So we needed to start by introducing a problem with traditional updates. I see it everywhere, including new managers, experienced managers I've coached. Traditional status meetings fall into the trap of being information dumps. Dump this, look at me, then dump some more, right? It could go on forever. But there needs to be more room for meaningful discussion and even problem solving, because I believe that you can do this. And that's where we introduce the 2-minute meeting hack. So here's how it works. Inform your team about the new format beforehand for this one meeting. No teams like to be surprised. This is a good thing. In this one meeting, each team member gets exactly 2 minutes to speak. Maybe it's a good day to do this on Wednesdays. The magic formula is that in those 2 minutes, they must cover at least one success since the last meeting, at least one challenge they're facing, and at least one specific ask for whatever help they might need. It sounds a lot like a daily scrum, but it's a little bit different because here's where it changes. You get 30 seconds to respond with a note of praise for the success, a clarifying question about the challenge, or a commitment to address the ask or to help delegate it or whatever needs to be done. This works because it focuses on actionable information. There's no time for fluff, no time for unnecessary details, and I'm telling you right now, this is something that works. I noticed that any challenges that were brought up quickly, and they were almost as quickly resolved. And as for that ask, well, sometimes it involved people who weren't in a meeting. So we talked about the things we did well, but it wasn't an opportunity to gloat. It was an opportunity to list successes and make sure that we gave them enough time to say more than this is what I achieved. This is always good. Your boss wants to know good news and doesn't always want to be bombarded with bad news. Just a fact, right? So start small. Try with just one meeting per week with the team to do this. Try expanding it. And sometimes you're in such a rhythm with 30 seconds per person that it's going to go short, and that's okay. But if you try this with a team and use a timer, if you will, and give people just a little bit of extra time to talk. Yeah, be strict about the time limit, but also help keep everyone focused. In this meeting, feel free as the coach to jot down key points for follow-up. So make sure the team knows ahead of time that if you're writing something, it's not what they're saying, that you're writing down action items that need to be followed up on. And then what would happen is those dreaded meetings would become more engaging. People started to enjoy them because it was kind of the flexibility between a long-winded meeting and that short daily scrum. So it bridged that gap. It gave us all a chance to all meet together in the middle, which was really, really nice. Nasty problems got solved much faster. It was more than just the 30-second daily stand-up, and it wound up being just something that had a ripple effect because people felt like, yeah, okay, On Wednesdays, I get the bigger picture. Every other day, I just fall in line with the very, very important strategic things. And what it did was it bridged the gap between what leadership needed to know and what was happening. So if you listen to the previous episode when we're talking about finishing Friday, it bridged the gap between that daily scrum that was so judicious and finishing Friday where we gave that update to leadership. So that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you give it a shot. If you do, comment below and tell me how it goes, because I can tell you it's going to make a difference in your life in the Agile world. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.